Hello and welcome to Mount Rushmore. My name is Jeff and I'm joined as usual by my distinguished colleagues Mike.
Hello?
And Rick.
You fucked that up. A-hole, it's Richard and Michael.
Worst.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to the Mount Rushmore Podcast. My name is Jeff, and as usual, I'm joined by my good friends Ricky.
Hello.
And Mikey.
Howdy.
Wait, what just happened there?
I don't know. We're already off the rails.
Ricky and Mikey are normally locked in intense debate on the Mount Rushmore of any given topic. The four things that best represent any certain thing. And this week is no different when we discuss office politics is the topic of this Mount Rushmore. And I think we can begin just establishing this, that nobody did office politics better than the Dilbert comic strip. Am I right, you guys?
Oh boy, when his tie would flip up.
And Dogbert would come in and say...
And then he'd say something about how awful women are.
Michael, this was your suggestion. Why did you pick it?
To pull the curtain back a little bit, I work in the branch services and facilities department at my company.
Killer softball team.
Oh my God, we don't even have one of those.
Oh, nuts.
Oh, I wonder if sports is on. Richard, is sports
No,
any sort of office
I've never worked at an office where we had an office team.
Yeah,
This is so... When somebody says pull the curtain back, usually there's like a hot chick back there, or let's make a deal like a
Right.
cow or something.
This may be a cow.
We're pulling it back, and there's a toaster that's broken, and it stinks of fish and or popcorn.
The branch? What is it?
I work in like branch services.
Branch
so
services.
we're kind of behind the scenes, and we do a lot of the things that it's kind of like office management in a certain way. So I've been doing that at my job for 12 years, and I have a job that it's very difficult to explain what I do.
Yes, I've known Michael for 10, 11 years.
no
I still
idea.
have no idea what Michael does.
Some people, it's easy to say, like, oh, I'm a teacher and I'm a fireman. Mine is like a paragraph, and at the end of it, people's eyes just kind of gloss over.
Yeah.
And they're so bored and they walk away from me.
I bet your job started off as a certain thing and then end various duties as necessary took over your entire job.
Pretty much. So I have like a weird kind of perspective on like the things that happen within an office that other people might not notice. And I think that office politics and some of the things on my list definitely pertain to that. But then the other thing that I thought of, so in this kind of like heightened and hot like political climate, I was thinking of the White House and how there was all of this backstabbing and there's these leaks that come out, and how it must be very difficult just to be in that particular office building, but underneath all of that, there is still like people burning popcorn, and someone's leaving like fish in the microwave too long, and all these things that kind of happen within a regular office, and then they're also controlling like the fate of the world. And I just thought, this is all of these things happen no matter how powerful you are, no matter what company you work for. There are like little things that like are just so officey, and like you mentioned,
And frequently universal.
Yeah.
No matter what, like you said, no matter whether you're in the White House or whatever the fuck Michael does.
Who took a dump in the bathroom in the Lincoln bedroom? So
100% Steve Bannon, by the way.
totally
100%.
upper decker. Yeah.
Michael, you are home. Richard's away. He'll bat first.
Yes, I will. And I should point out that I've never really had a ton of office politics in jobs where I worked. I worked at newspapers for a while, and it's just such a weird work environment. You just don't have time to get involved in that, and you're not really in the office for a lot of the time. You're out actually covering shit.
People just complaining that they're out of like ribbon ink.
Yeah, or out of little press cards that you can put in your fedora.
That's right. Who's got all the press cards?
Things like that.
We're all out of sassy dames.
Hey, can somebody get over here out of sassy dames? So I had that, and really the last few jobs, it's been I work in marketing, and we have pretty small departments. So it's usually marketing is part of a bigger company. So we're a pretty small group, and so that kind of doesn't lend itself very well to a lot of politics. When you're politicking with one or two other people, It's just like playing a game of Monopoly against yourself. So there was one time, though, and this will be my first one, which is going over the head of your boss to get your immediate supervisor fired.
Oh, that's
or
fun.
Something like that. One of those sort of like just bypassing somebody, trying to screw the other person over.
Yeah.
That happened to me once when I was the boss. I was the head of creative for a public relations agency, and one of my direct reports decided he thought he could do that job better, so started trying to undermine me to the owner of the company. And that didn't work so well because she really liked me and kind of didn't like him to begin with.
Oh.
So he got laid off about 6 months later. So what I'm saying is don't cross me.
Don't cross this guy.
I will fuck you up. But it was just one of those things is not only was it, poor form to just do that in general, but it was also like really poorly done.
How did you find out that you were the target of an assassination attempt?
I found out because one of his coworkers, who I wanted to become good friends with, and I still talk to this day, came up to me and was like, "Yeah, Matthew's been talking to me and saying like, yeah, I think I can get Richard's job if I do this and this. I really think I should be doing that because he had come from a larger agency and big backstory there." And my friend Chris is like, "I don't know why he's telling me this. I think he knows we're really good friends." And it's one of those things where you think, was he telling him that to try and like do some sort of get me flustered? But then you realize, and there's a great quote from Saturday Night Live book, the oral history. Someone says one time when they're talking about the office politics that were happening there, that things that you think are these incredible schemes are sometimes just people screwing up and not knowing how to fix it.
Oh yeah.
I'm paraphrasing there, but that's the basic idea,
Loose
right?
links sink ships.
or just you think that somebody is taking part of this massive scheme, like super like complex, like all these moving parts, and really it's just people floundering, trying to do something and being really bad at it. Just I think to bring back the White House parallel, right now we're looking at the administration, and every time he being Trump, makes an incredibly insane tweet or statement, you'll get the news report saying, well, actually, this may be very smart because he's trying to deflect from.
Sure.
It's kind of Occam's razor, right? The most likely option is no, he's just making a stupid tweet.
Yeah, he's just angry.
There's no thought about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's eventually what was happening there. And yeah, eventually I kind of like laid low for a while and kind of casually mentioned it to my boss a month or so later.
It's like you Costanza'd it.
I totally Costanza. I sat on that thing like it was an egg just waiting to hatch. And one day I just mentioned my boss, like, "Hey, how do you think Matthew's doing?" And she went, "Oh, yeah, And interesting that you mentioned that." And I just kind of played dumb, like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And she's like, "Yeah, no, he's been talking to me, like trying to say like, boy, I don't think Richard's doing a good job at this," and being very kind of passive aggressive about it. And my boss at the time was batshit crazy and a pathological liar, but she was also very like did not put up with BS.
Oh,
so
that's an interesting combo.
Yeah, this could be a whole separate podcast on her, but just didn't put up with it. It was like no, so he's been trying to get. I've been ignoring it, but if you want to do something about it, we can do something about it. And that's cool. And just sort of like waited until there was an opportunity and then axed him.
Okay, Michael.
My first one is passive-aggressive notes. Now, whether they are in the kitchen or in the bathroom, there is someone who always feels that they need to confront someone or everyone in the office with just like a smart-ass jibe that's written on a Post-it. Or just like you see, the actual real way to brew a pot of coffee is to ... Or this is Richard's milk. Don't even think about taking any of the milk.
Or hey guys, it's always like the passive aggressive ones. Like those are more direct. It's
hey guys is a great way to start a really crappy.
A lot of people use this kitchen. Or please, let's all blank. Is that what you're? Or this is the individualized one, not you.
I'm kind of doing a smorgasbord.
Of
any sort of note that kind of tells you specifically or the office generally.
Yeah.
What to do or how you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Compared to how I would do it.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we all, when you're throwing away a toner cartridge, let's make sure we're throwing it away the proper way.
Yeah.
And here you go.
I feel like as I recall, those are either handwritten or they use the appropriate passive aggressive font, Comic Sans.
Sure. Yeah.
is what they're, and they usually have
The most passive aggressive of all
Yeah.
fonts.
the clip art bean characters. His body shaped like a bean, shaped like a bean, and his hands are usually up in the air. Do you find that from an institutional level, these things people are pushed into this position? I always feel like you're Milton the stapler guy
Sure,
when you ask for other people to treat this common areas with a little bit of decorum or whatever, but then these things in the grand scheme of things, even in an office, aren't any big fucking deal. You don't get your panties in a lather.
I think usually they tend to be aimed at a single person,
Oh yeah,
Right.
but then they're applied to the entire office so that 100 other people are just like, why is this note here? I don't do this. I don't.
Yeah.
But then it's obviously that someone was standing on the side and knows that someone was leaving these little creamers out and coming back to them.
You had a creamer problem
had
recently, haven't you?
Yeah, last year or 2 years ago. There's some crazy person that would come down and open up like those little creamer drums
yeah, and leave half a creamer.
and leave half a creamer on the side of the sink and would come back to it like later in the day. One, that seems very
Unsanitary.
unsanitary. Two, like other people have to like deal with like, is this garbage? And like I guess maybe I was passive aggressive because I just started throwing them away,
Yeah.
even though I knew whose they were, but I
what
didn't
they're-
leave a note about it.
Yeah.
And eventually I think he stopped doing it.
We have a half of thing eater in our office, and often they get a half a banana and chop it in half and then leave the other half of a banana sitting there. Like, nobody's going to eat the fucking other half of banana except tsetse flies, which
Right.
fly in and swarm all around everywhere.
Great, guys. We have malaria in the office now.
Great. We have in our office a refrigerator that beeps when you leave it open, and it is in direct sonic aim of my door. So it just drives me crazy 10 times a day. I go, can someone just shut the fridge?
I think what it comes down to ultimately these notes is people have a worry about confrontation. Like whether it's like an HR driven, like you're suddenly, if you're the person that's confronting someone about how long they should pop their popcorn for,
Right.
suddenly you're in HR's books of having confronted someone about
Yeah.
how long they've
Yeah.
popped someone's popcorn. And then a couple of those build up, and then you're that guy that's always complaining about that.
So they need to have a discussion with you
And
about.
then that becomes a meeting and called into the office. So I think that these are ways for people to communicate when they don't know how to just be like, don't stop
Yeah.
making fish.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think, though, the person knows that their request is petty, therefore they feel a little bit sheepish about asking it directly.
Sure,
So
that
they
I-
have a sense of that.
Yeah.
All right. So we've come out of there with brinksmanship, going over the head of the
Yeah, that's a good word
person.
for it.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
And then passive-aggressive notes. Okay, Richard, what's your second?
So my second one is something I've never had, haven't had to deal with as much directly to some extent, but org chart / title madness. Just
Hey, it's March. Get your brackets out.
when your company's org chart begins to look like a March Madness bracket and nobody reports to anybody.
I'm dotted to regional vice president Gary, but I'm straight lined to
Yes.
so-and-so.
Exactly. And there's where there's a person who's in charge of people who you're like, there's no way they should be in charge of that person.
Yeah.
Like they don't do the same thing in the company at all. Where's this going? And between that and the people who just get very attached to their titles and the importance of their titles in situations where everyone is more or less an equal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Dwight Schrute, assistant general manager versus assistant to the general manager sort of thing.
There's a lot of power play going on in so far your picks.
Yeah, I mean that's the office politics. I mean, there's a lot of. If this was just stupid shit people do at the office, this would be a broader topic.
Yeah, you're looking at my list.
What I
then.
love about the word that the designation of office politics is, in politics there's a campaign, and
Right.
the presumptive idea is that there is an office to be run for, or somebody is going to be the president of bullshit enterprises,
Right.
or,
Dude, I said not to mention my company's name.
okay, dead end marketing. And it's not false. There is opportunity to be had by one who is succeeding in that game of whatever we're doing here.
Right.
But it's such a shallow, hollow victory.
Right.
When you can when you can do the things you do to get to the top that are petty and awful, congrats, you're in charge of the worst company in the world.
Yeah, you've sunk your company by being
Yeah.
awful and miserable and not actually doing anything to help the company.
Yeah.
But now you've got a new title. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. I was thinking about office politics. And as a general rule, if you have an org chart that makes sense, you can look at it and go, okay, this department, this department, this department, here's how everything flows. You're going to have a lot less office politics. Now, you're still going to have the person at one job I had, an art director. Right? She was the art director. And then they decided to reorg and realize, well, we don't need a director level position just for someone doing art, basically like photos for our ads and stuff like that.
You're now third shift custodian.
Yeah, director level, that comes with a parking spot.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Comes with a...
But then this person insisted on keeping the director level title in their email and on their little plaque they had on their door until somebody complained about it and made her have to change it. Which I don't know what's more petty in that situation. The person who refuses to give up that title or the person who complained to somebody.
That's just a 50-50 bar.
That's just a lose-lose of suck right there.
It does seem like we are advised to dress for the job we want, dress for success, be ready for the job you want. That person seemed to worry how the currency of her title would retain its value once she's fired for being such a cunt in the office.
Well, here's the weird thing. This person had worked at that company for a long time, and I believe will be working there until she retires.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I don't quite understand what the importance is. I mean, she worked with basically a 2 or 3 person marketing department.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
there's no power to be had there.
Yeah.
When you're putting your business cards into the giant fish bowl at Chevy's and they draw your name, you want them to know that they're the assistant regional director, not
You're
the assistant to the regional
art director, not art manager.
That's right.
Giant difference.
Okay, Michael, you're second.
Talking about control, number 2 on my list is HVAC in the office.
Oh.
And there is...
Oh, look at the big shot over here. Gets air conditioning in his office.
That's right. There is a ton of power play that goes into the people that control that little box that's on the side of a column that controls, 300 square feet of whatever in any given office. And often it comes down to a man versus woman thing.
Oh, yeah.
And because women are but physically colder than men. For whatever reason, all the time, they are just colder. And offices tend to be colder. And I've seen that as a misogynistic thing. People complain about that. And I think it's just because a couple of things. One, offices tend to be colder in the morning and warm up throughout the day. So they try to stay cold initially to kind of keep it at an even temperature. But
is this more of a problem in an office where my office, I think Jigsaw, the horror film character, devised the HVAC plan because it's you go through 20 different biodomes. What is it? When the different temperatures.
Pauly Shore there.
It's Stephen Baldwin, the worst Baldwin. There are 20 different temperature differences in my office.
Like zones.
Yeah. There's tundra and steppe and then Arctic and subarctic. And
when you get to Genghis Khan, you know you're in trouble.
By the time you go to the mail, you've seen people in parkas and people in bikinis.
I'm convinced at this point that departments shouldn't be sat together by whether you're in marketing or whether you're in accounts payable. It should just be okay, what temperature are you comfortable at? Because everyone's just communicating over email anyway. Yeah. No one's getting up, and if you're going to a meeting, you're going into a conference room to gather. But I always think it's funny when you see people one person gets up and adjusts the thermostat, and then 7 minutes later, someone else is going up. And you realize this is why they start to put locks on these things.
Or the little password you have to put in.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to see how important the importance of being comfortable is in an office. Yeah. And people start to load up. Can't remember who mentioned it, but you see someone, I always see people bringing in blankets and they're just draped around them. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm a little...
It's Whistler's mother over in the corner.
I mean, it's not 30 degrees in there for people.
It isn't.
It's not. I mean, if you're a little cold and you need to bring like a cardigan or something, that's fine. But you don't need a whole Columbia outerwear like parka set.
It's 68 degrees, and then in another part of the office it's 73. The swings in temperature isn't crazy.
Instead of the thermostat display as it is, there should be a game of Jeopardy, and the smartest person gets to win, or the first 3 levels of Miss Pac-Man, or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And if you can win that, then whoever gets high score, you get to control the temperature.
Ultimately, I think, like what you said, a lot of office buildings you're not the first tenant that ever moved in there.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, like their systems are built around other walls that kind of separated the areas.
Right.
So they're not going to go back when a new tenant moves in. They're not going to go back and like redesign the HVAC.
Yeah.
They're going to leave it alone because that costs many thousands of dollars, and they're just going to knock down walls and be like, "You're all in cubes now, so don't."
Who cares? Just deal with it.
The worry we're just going to assign it to someone that's going to come adjust the thermostat, or in some cases, fake adjust it.
Yeah.
And then you ask them later, and you're like, "Oh, so how are you feeling better?" "Oh yeah, it's much better." And you're
They
like,
faux adjusted it.
"I didn't do it."
They just stuck the decal that comes when you buy a travel alarm clock right over there. Seems fine. It's
a 74.
Yeah. It's 12 o'clock degrees around here. These guys have just aired their first 2 choices, and this is the moment where I say, "Hey, are you in your office right now listening to podcasts?" Good.
Your boss is right behind you. Turn it off.
I can see the stock price for your company going down with your lack of productivity. But I'm glad that you're supporting the Mount Rushmore podcast that Richard and Michael and I love to do and love to bring to you and love to share with others. So if you want to help us share it, then like that bunt cake that you bring to the office and put in the break room and share with everybody, then please go to the bunt cake of iTunes and download a slice of Mount Rushmore podcast, rate, review it, and subscribe. If that's the thing you still do with podcasts, I think. And
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, not ours usually, but some WTF podcast. Whatever things you do with them, do with us.
Do with us. I would love to see a new review on there because I think the review part of our podcast is broken or something.
What was the last review we got? Was just 3 stars. Pretty good.
It's all of our wives.
Is that what it was, Michael?
It was 3 stars and said, "Pretty good," and that was the title of it. And then the body of it said, "It's a good podcast."
Yeah. Yeah.
God bless you.
That's the guy who runs the Mediocre Ratings podcast. Yeah. So, and also you can follow us on our Facebook page where you can leave suggestions for future episodes. We have a couple times in past done suggestions that people have placed on our Facebook, and those have always been fun to do.
And maybe we'll rope you into having to come in and be part of the show.
Yeah.
You never know.
I hope you're not allergic to flies because this room is filled with them right now. Maybe I'm just seeing them. Yeah. So that's the middle third where we implore you to follow our podcast. And now we're back. Richard, what's your third?
Okay, so my third one is control of the television in the break room.
Okay, what? Oh, in the break room.
In the break room specifically. Okay. No, it's not like we have TVs in our office and we're all just sitting around watching Scooby-Doo.
We know.
Toughest part of my job is I don't get to watch all the shows I like.
We're all thinking of one person whose job is to watch cartoons all day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
On the org chart, it says, this person watches cartoons. Now, there's another person in another department whose job it is to watch like Judge Judy.
Oh, yeah.
But no, so you got the break room. And you got your break, and you wander in there, and people kind of take their break right around the same time. And whoever it is that got in there first has put on the most random, useless, nobody else wants to watch sort of thing.
Yeah.
And is just engrossed in
like
it.
Animal Best Friends or
like an Animal Channel show or like, reruns of Maude.
Yeah.
But like, or some other or really
Mama's Family.
Mama's Family or something. Well, like Me TV or whatever those random 13.6 channels are you get on your digital stations.
Please tell me this is the CEO of your company.
Oh, of course, absolutely. He's not just the founder. He's also really, really in love with the TV show Mama's Family.
When is Eunice gonna get some sense?
Invariably, it's also the same person who manages to plan their break, get in there, and get control of the TV. And then you're stuck with that. And there's 20 other people there, and maybe half of them want to watch something else, but nobody knows it. Okay, did this person put this show on and they're really watching it? Did it just happen to be on something else and they never changed it? Mm-hmm. And of course, God forbid we actually ask anybody, hey, are you watching this? No, that's not going to work. So you kind of have to mill around and wait for them to leave. Then you wind up not taking your break. Maybe it's a little personal here. Then you wind up not taking your break until you see that person leave. Mm-hmm. But by the time you get over there, someone else is in the break room. And now the TV channel's changed. Now you don't know what the hell's going on.
Then you get to have your lunchtime wank in the broom closet.
And then someone who's already in there. So like, what do I...
What's the protocol?
What's the protocol here?
The 16-year-old me used to have a remote controlled watch where I could...
Ooh, look at Dick Tracy over
somebody
here.
else controlled your watch?
No.
It was on my left hand. I had the control in my right hand.
It was strange. It was strange. It would move 1 second at a time forward every day. I wasn't doing it. Someone else was. No, I had like a remote control watch where you could change like TV channels.
Oh, that's right.
Like an IR, whatever.
Yeah.
And you could find like a remote. You could find like whatever the code was for whatever TV. And I used to use it in class every once in a while. But like to have that, 35 and looking at a TV in the break room, just slowly like change the channel. People like start going crazy would be great.
Believe it's time for VH1 Classic.
We have at my office in the last year or so, they built out a pretty swanky like break room, or it's a game room. So we have like a kitchen and everything, but we have like a big game room that has a pool table and has like what's that little puck sliding game?
Oh, air hockey.
No, but the one it's like slides on sand.
That's actual sex.
Oh, shuffleboard.
Shuffleboard.
Not shuffle bombed.
And
Totally different game.
And they have like, these big leather chairs set around the TV, and they have like a ping pong
Sounds
table.
like you worked at a TGI Fridays.
God, it's great, but it was really built. They say it was built for the employees, but it was 100% built for the CEO.
Yeah.
To have like this $70,000 golf simulator put into one corner of the room, but you see the same thing happen there. Is people come in, and what will happen is one person will come in and sit down on like the leather chair and put the TV on, and then for whatever reason, no one else will go in.
Oh.
This huge room will be completely empty because they give them like their own personal space. It's like, well, why don't you just go in and sit down with them? But people are so afraid of like ruining someone else's time or like sharing like a really comfortable space with some people.
Right.
That sometimes like you said, they're afraid to go and change the channel or talk to about like, can we change the channel? They'll just like avoid it entirely.
Okay, Michael, you're up.
You mentioned, Richard, getting there first to change the TV channel.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is the political stab in the back that is the free food, free lunch at an office. It seems like a great idea, but it is 100% just a con by the office to get you to work at your desk for an hour rather than going out to lunch. And, sure, it costs the company a couple $100 in pizza.
Right.
No way. It's for you to get there. You get your pizza, you get your salad, and you have given them a free hour of your day back to them. Yeah. Sitting at your desk answering emails.
I worked as a person who's worked a lot in corporate communications. We always worked with the HR people, and there was a guy who had me convinced between pizza and salary. He said the reason pizza is so great is because it's breaking bread. We all have the same.
Also tastes good.
Pizza's pretty good.
Jeff, you should try some pizza sometime because it tastes great.
But he also said that this was at a major electronics retailer. He also said that the young people don't even know what a raise is. Like you give them a quarter more, it could make the company go under because everybody got a quarter raise and they're going to go bankrupt. But a person who doesn't have a mortgage, doesn't pay their own loan on their car, they don't pay rent anywhere. Quarter, whatever, doesn't really make that much of a difference to them. But he did expound on the virtues of breaking bread and pizza and sharing.
I think that there's so many things that are involved with just food, whether it shows this weird sense of appreciation from the company, or you interpret it as, oh, they really care about me. They brought like a food truck out, you know, or my company will do that. They'll get like a Cool House ice cream sandwiches to come out, once a summer, or they'll do like the Koji truck, or they'll do free lunches, and you think, oh my God, it doesn't cost them as much as you think it costs them.
And you go from being disgruntled to just gruntled for the price of a piece of pizza.
Regularly gruntled.
Regularly gruntled.
Okay, so the company I work for right now, when I first started working there, they were just in the process of getting acquired by another company. And when I first got there, and it's still kind of an independent company, they would buy cater lunch twice a week and then breakfast once a week. And then they went down to breakfast once a week and catered lunch once a week. Then everyone combined in the new offices downtown. And it's just, you get lunch once a week. And like people were just complaining and upset about this. And it's like, you're still getting a free lunch once a week.
Yeah, but it's not. We used to do like a monthly thing that they eventually became a quarterly thing and eventually just got cut out altogether. And you just have to do it slowly.
Yeah.
And wean people off of it. But it's amazing how people will listen. There's enough pizza for everybody, but people will line up to be there first in line. 20 minutes out, 30 minutes out. Just wait. I mean, maybe it depends on the place, but
it's pizza. It's really good.
Yeah,
really good.
It's really good.
So, do you, at your office with the pizza, do you have the a-hole who insists on like a vegetarian or like a vegan pizza? We got some of that, and it's like, great. We've got a whole pizza that's like fake cheese.
Mm-hmm. No,
you know what? Maybe you just don't get lunch that week.
Yeah.
Maybe your need for like a vegan pizza is not superseded by the fact that nobody else wants a vegan pizza.
I would also propose that free food at the office is ultimately an incredible waste of food, because what ends up happening is people forget that it's like free food Friday or whatever it is for the office lunch, and they bring in their leftovers. Yeah. And then the next day, now it's Monday, and they're not eating those leftovers, and those just get tossed. Uh-huh. So there's so many offices or so many meals that I'm sure have dumped in the trash just for a slice of pep.
You know what's funny about pizza is it's an opportunity to kind of, often when we've had pizza, it's a very egalitarian environment where everybody comes in. There's some kind of announcement email that people get free pizza in the break room. Everybody comes in. And then the boss is usually the person who ends up paying for the pizza.
Yeah.
So it should be a great uniter. But then you look at the boss and go, hey, boss eats pizza. Hey, look. And then you realize, boss eats pizza like an idiot. He's using a fork and knife.
Oh, that's even the worst is when you see your boss walk out the door and go get lunch with the other higher-ups. And you're like, too good for pizza.
Too good for pizza.
Too many calories, huh?
What a jerk. Oh, he's probably going to that fancy pizza place. Richard.
All right, so
my fourth and final
option. My final one is
choice. Sorry, that was unnecessary.
Like weird annual reviews and the awkwardness that go around that.
I saw annual reviews the other day.
Yeah,
episode 15.
Annual reviews, which are something that I just loathe. I loathed doing them when I was in management. I loathe getting them now that I'm not in management.
Yeah.
And they're useless. I've never been a part of a review where I got anything constructive out of it. Mm-hmm. I just haven't.
Here's your 4.
Yeah. And most of the time, and most of the time your boss doesn't want to give it. And, I guess I'm I don't want to brag, but I guess I'm an average worker. What? So it's always just like, yeah, you're doing a pretty good job. Keep up. Maybe do a little bit more of this next quarter. But other than that, okay.
It's always strange when you can tell that their directive from someone on high is to always find something to improve. It's not just like everything's great, do everything exactly the same way. It's there's always one little everything's great, do everything exactly the same way. But also, occasionally there's a slow pause and the exhale.
Here's one thing I've noticed.
Here's one thing that you could be doing.
It's a way to improve. You're not doing bad at it.
Yeah.
You could improve on it.
When you reply to the email, could you do it just a little faster?
Yeah. I noticed you come in at 8:47. Maybe try 8:46.
Just saying.
Do you feel inspired?
Yeah, you notice. Yeah, exactly. And the reason for that is, of course, if there's nothing for them to critique about you, then it's harder for them not to give you a raise. Right? So... Or I've had times where
maybe their job is maybe their job is the one that's actually in doubt, and if their boss looks down at the review and is like, well, they're doing everything great, but
where's the problem?
Why do I need this person in between us?
I for the last 2 years of my career was managing a complete psychotic. This guy, everything about him was. Freud would have a field minute with this guy before he's gone.
Oh, wow.
He gone?
He was fired for sexual harassment.
Oh, that was the
that was the guy.
The straw that broke the camel's back.
This guy would say, like, I knew all this stuff. I also knew every time I left the room, he was bad mouthing me to my employees. I knew that, and because I work for a company that is more fearful of wrongful termination lawsuits, had to toe this line. Like, I didn't know all this stuff was happening. Going into HR, this guy had already had a punch card with HR for all the infractions and all the people who'd complained about sexual harassment for the last 6 years. And
so he got promoted, is what you're saying.
He got a promotion to the head of the entertainment industry. The challenge I had was eating shit during that review and pretending, because he was beyond motivation, because he didn't, and he always pretended people also, when you get a review, you do a self-review often, and his self-review was how stellar and amazing he is, how he doesn't get enough opportunity, and how he needs us to buy him more toys that he can play with in the office.
Cool.
And just to kind of sit there and have to smile and nod and act like he was anything less than a oppositionally defiant, self-absorbed narcissist who had no place in an institution such as a corporation.
Maybe an institution.
Maybe
just not that kind
institution.
of institution.
Full stop.
So it was just so challenging. And I remember sometimes it was kind of one of the easiest reviews to give, because you just kind of sit there and nod, say, "Attaboy," because there's nothing I can say to this guy. I familiar with some narcissists, and if you were not complimenting them, you're attacking them. So you literally would just turn red if you said anything like
negatively.
Maybe you can improve this. Maybe you can improve that.
Maybe you can improve not calling female coworkers cunts.
Yeah.
Could you do that?
Yeah.
Do
you think that was your situation with your review?
What I'm trying to say, Richard, there's things you could work on.
Yeah.
No, you did sort of tangentially bring up one part of it, which is the self-review.
Yeah.
I now have to do that as part of my review process. Go in and give myself a star grade for each of these things. And it's like, if I'm being honest, 5. So sometimes you have to like give yourself a 4 in something, just so it doesn't look like it's all like great across the board. 4, I could do a little bit better. You know, I could be more organized. Mm-hmm. That's always like I can always be more organized.
That's a good one. That's always a good one to fall on the sword on, is more organized, because everybody could be more organized technically.
And more organized implies that you've got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
It's not like, no, my organization's fine. I'm not really doing anything. So I have no papers file, anything like that. I'm fine.
All right, Michael, what's your fourth?
My last one is workplace romance, and how awkward the navigating that world is.
That was the plot of Anal Reviews.
15?
15. Don't act like you're just coming up with that. I saw the movie too.
I need to call you into our office for a review.
An anal review?
It looks like you've been leaving a lot of passive-aggressive notes all over the office. And the org chart here, let's reorganize that a little bit.
Also, let's reorganize your colon.
That's awful. You know, I mean, that's the first thing that's going to get you a sexual harassment.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a relationship politics that happens quite often in any company. I mean, I guess it also doesn't necessarily happen within a company, but it could be within school or anything. But just trying to figure out what is or isn't appropriate within your office space, I think is very challenging. And you know, there's that weird creepy mad.
Is it challenging? I think we all see the video on our first day at work.
No. Yes, do not wear mirrored shoes and stand behind people. Do not have a fifth of bourbon in your desk drawer and lock the door behind them.
In your sexual harassment employee video, I remember at the company I work, the setting is never the company where you work. It's it's ABC Incorporated, or it's
right.
XYZ Incorporated.
It's always like a travel office.
Yeah.
For a business that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
You're going in, you're like, oh, here's ABC Travel. Huh. They don't do that. There's no more stanchions that hold like Bermuda. Like pamphlets on Bermuda anymore.
Yeah, there's no such thing. So you're saying the gray area, it's where is the line? What's the
I think it becomes harder and harder with HR these days. And I don't know if people's common sense has caught up to the legality of what one can or can't do. There's this weird now bygone era of like Mad Men.
Yeah.
That kind of was like romanticized, 10 years ago when Mad Men came out and people were like, oh my God, remember how cool it was?
Yeah.
It's like, no, it was really fucking
horrible.
awful.
Yeah, it was horrible.
For like half of the people or 2/3 of the people
Yeah.
in the office, and this weird power struggle between men and women. But I think that, I don't know, you'd start to notice some people in the office hanging out a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
You're like, oh, they're going on they have lunch every day.
Yeah.
They didn't used to have lunch every day. They're going on walks around the...
They come by their office a lot.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's,
I think that's an extension of that. Is when you said office romance, made me think of kind of the office bromance or office friendships and alliances that created, whether they're romantic or whether they're just cliquish groups, and how those can be isolating for some people, or they can be borderline against company. They can be against company policy.
Yeah.
And I think with the advent of electronic communication, there's also all these other ways for people to have these connections in the office that one would question whether they're appropriate or not, or whether it's toxic for the environment, because romances end and then something really bad can happen.
I saw that firsthand, one of my jobs.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, one of the writers at the newspaper had been dating one of the editors for a long time, and then one of the editors started dating another one of the reporters behind that reporter's back, and they still had to work together after this all went down.
Oh wow,
that was ugly. That was not a fun situation to be anywhere near.
Yeah,
meetings were not good there.
It's also strange when you realize that like two people are together, or like you're like, oh, they're dating.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, they showed up to the Christmas party together. Are they allowed to do that?
Yeah.
You're like, well, they are adults, and it's always very strange when you reconfigure people out of like an office mindset and into one of, they're getting into the same Honda.
Yeah. It is. I can see why it happens. You work very intensely with these people, and it could be the place where romance is ready to flourish. And I think also if somebody is in a relationship and the office is kind of their refuge where they can be this other person, they're not pegged down by that one relationship. So
in a dozen years that I've been at my company, I've made actual just friends with like 3 people.
Yeah.
I keep the daily conversations too.
I do too. Yeah, but it's
how was your weekend? Mine was very good, thank you. I do not offer the reply. How was yours? Because I just don't care.
For listeners to this podcast, this is how Michael and I interact off microphone too. I try to get some information out of him about his life.
Jeff will send me a text, and I'll just start to reply back, so he just sees the 3 dots. But then I just never finish, so he's just always waiting.
You actually reply back with dots, 3 dots. dot.
Okay, so this has been a fascinating trip through the institution of the office, and how in some ways it's like the world where all this stuff can happen in terms of relationships and desires to further our lives, and petty little things, just about the basic level of food and all that kind of stuff. So that's been a really interesting journey. Before I kind of divulge my choice as to who gets etched onto the Mount Rushmore, I want to talk about my pet peeve. And these are 2 things that shouldn't really go together, but I think they kind of do. 2 biological aspects of people's lives that impact their performance. One is pregnancy, and one is smoking. And I've been peeved in the past. I've never been pregnant, and I haven't been a smoker yet for either one of those things. But those 2 are very much protected classes still. If you have a cigarette addiction, you get to leave your desk up to 10 times a day for a period of 30 minutes to go smoke in the designated smoking area, which is now usually 7 miles away from the office. So that person has this productivity dip that they're allowed to engage in. If I were to take 7 naps a day at my desk and just dip forward, I would be fired, right? So that's something that's been kind of a peeve. I realize nicotine addiction is no laughing matter. It's not fun for that person, but that's something that's always been, that's something that's gotten my craw before, the politics surrounding that. And another thing that's not going to be popular choice. One member of our podcast, Michael Winfield, is soon going to be Papa Winfield. And at that point, he's going to get probably paternity leave. Am I right?
That's correct.
And then for the next 20 years of your life, you're going to dodge out about 2:30 on Friday to go to a baseball game or something like that.
He does that now, though.
Yeah, it sounds
That's
pretty
right.
good.
That's right.
Now I got an excuse for it.
The Great Institute of Parenting has allowed people for years to be better than everybody else. And in my office, those people who are pregnant or people who are have a little tyke at home use it as an excuse to never do any work ever. And they can always say, I got to go because
this down.
I'm a
no
parent.
work ever.
Okay, I sounded dickish for the last 2 minutes. Or has it been my whole life? I'd like to think it's
You
the
sounded
last 2
dickish
minutes.
for the last 2 minutes.
Okay.
You've also sounded dickish for the rest of your life.
We'll
The old
check-
Mitch Hedberg thing.
We're gonna go listen back to all the past episodes, of
Which you
Mount
should too,
Rushmore.
guys.
Yeah,
Everyone should.
Everyone should do it.
I'll send you some notes, a little dot. Wait for it in a text message.
It's now my dubious honor to evaluate the Mount Rushmore choices these gentlemen have given. And what I think is the funnest part of my job, at least I make it my job, is to tell a narrative and a theme in each of their choices. And Richard's theme was definitely a Machiavellian chess move. Richard's about an individual's quest for power inside the cold institutional org chart. So I think of his choices in terms of like the actual org chart, people kind of brinksmanship going over the head of another, physical control, wresting the remote and control over the television, and then these moments where one person, mano a mano, gets to go up against another in an annual review. I think these are fascinating. So I think if this were a game boiled down to it, Richard would be definitely like something like chess or even 3D chess like on Star Trek. On the other hand, I think Michael's choices very much were like the plot of Les Mis. It's kind of this, or if it was a game, it's that. You ever had that game where you'd have a steel marble and try to go through this labyrinth that's on these 2 rollers? And you're just trying not to fall down in the hole while you get from one side to the other like a rat trying to get some cheese. So, but definitely it's got kind of a Horatio Alger thing. The huddled masses just trying to get some free bread, at lunch, and workplace romances. I imagine these 2 lovers kind of meeting each other behind the mill or something like that. Sending furtive notes to each other on the refrigerator or something like that, and then just trying to stay warm and not die in the cold air conditioning that's cranked up so high. So I just find it entertaining. To that end, Richard, I'm going to say I think your marketing... You work in marketing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it small office?
My office itself or my department
Your
or the whole
department,
office?
yeah.
Department's very small.
Yeah. And you work from home?
A couple days a week, yeah.
Okay.
By the way, there's some office politics going on.
Oh my
Whenever I want to watch something on TV on my break, and my father-in-law's already watching, so whoo.
Oh my God. So I will say some of this was impacted. I know you did kind of come out saying, that you have a different kind of professional environment. You haven't worked in a lot of environments with a lot of the typical stuff. So here are my choices. They are 1, the HVAC control, politics of temperature. I find that very compelling. And who thought that just the Celsius and Fahrenheit would impact so many people and how they interact with each other. 2, control of the TV. It's a very clear picture that Richard presents about how this 1 half hour, 45 minutes out of your day when you just want to sit down and relax and forget that you're in a stupid office, and how that can be ruined by a rerun of Maude or Family Ties or something like that. 3, I chose free food. That's
Always choose free food.
always choose free food.
Always.
I wish all food were free. And if elected your president, it will be. This is a real colorful narrative about how that polarizes and unifies, but mostly polarizes people. And 4 is the office romance. So I feel like Michael got 3 out of 4.
I'm who does HR for our podcast?
Well, that'd be Tammy, but she's been replaced by a foreign overseas outsourced company.
Oh, in India?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to pick up Paul in India and give him a call because I don't think this was fair.
They're on the line 24 hours. Anytime you need to call, they're happy to listen to you.
I don't think Jeff's review by Richard is going to go very well.
Yeah, could you step into my office, Jeff,
Oh my God.
and bring all your stuff?
You want to be judge of Mount Rushmore Podcast, don't you?
I went right over your head.
Right over my head. This has been the Mount Rushmore Podcast. I'm President Jeff of the company.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.